To the beach.
Yeah, the beach. I would teach every Saturday. Yeah. And even just like Williamsburg to Phil, I would ride my bike. It was so easy.
I did too.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. I can't believe we lived across the street from each other. It's nuts.
And then the second year, you know, the amount of years that we devoted to
Hi, Mark.
went up by 20%, you know, and so
See?
I stepped down.
I've seen you pretty much.
I know.
It's been a while. Look what I got, Mark.
Like Joe Michaels just dropped that off.
Astronomical.
Yeah, this is probably more than 50 miles. Where did you get that?
Joe Michaels just dropped it off right before the meeting.
Oh, you saw Joe?
He just came in and dropped it and left.
Oh, sorry.
I said, do you want to stay? He said, no.
How is he doing? How's he working?
Good. He's got a project right now in the building department, like he's working.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah.
So he's your son, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, he's your predecessor.
Yes, yes.
We're waiting for one more member, so we'll give it till 5 after 7. If she doesn't show, we'll just start. Okay.
Yep.
Meanwhile, if you want to review the minutes, we have to go on that.
May 19th.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Way back. Way back.
There's copies of this agenda, if anybody wants to see it. What we're doing. Well, whatever. Hey, Glenn.
Huh? Yeah,
He wants one.
yeah. So,
Well, we talked to the courts yesterday. They had given that recommendation to see if he could apply for something, but he hadn't, so then they want to know that he hadn't and send it out of town. So I have to write her a letter saying he hasn't applied for anything yet. Is Elizabeth coming?
I
Bringing every day.
but I would change it like what they should.
We had a Saturday, it rained like it did here in Irene, and I think hard. It was, we're always had a screen tent, and every 3 seconds pushed up on the top of the screen tent, it's like they were dumping 5-gallon buckets.
Florida.
No, we're above Saranac Lake.
Oh, wow.
That rained that day, the first day there, Friday, it rained, and a little bit sometimes. That's when we
7 minutes after she called me.
Sure.
We can all please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which is stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Secretary, roll call.
Mark Bodie,
Here.
Gary Kuglimetti,
Here.
Alan Vela,
Here.
Elizabeth Niesel, Hank Williams,
Here.
before except Elizabeth. Thanks for coming, guys. We haven't met in 2 months, so we haven't seen each other.
Can you turn your mics on? Sorry.
We haven't met in 2 months. We haven't seen each other in 3 months, so we're resuming business. Are there any amendments to the minutes from May 17th? Any amendments from the board? May I have a motion that the minutes from May 17th be accepted as presented?
Motion to accept the minutes.
May I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion to accept the minutes, so accepted. Thank you. Okay, 2 items on the agenda. I think we'll deal with the going forward first because that seems to be more simple. Yes, sir.
Sorry, can you speak in your microphone? So we'll-
Can't hear it.
That better?
Yes. You just face the microphone when you're speaking, please.
Okay, thank you. Maybe that's better. Okay, the going forward
Yes.
application. Sir, please stand up and tell us what the application is and why you're here.
Looking,
Yeah, at least you have a microphone for the house.
hello, is it on?
Is this in,
No, is it on? All right, looking for a area variance, correct?
Yes.
To put a addition on a building. Basically put a living room on it.
Okay. Do we not need a site plan map, which we don't have?
Well, I have some drawings. The person that's doing the concrete work had a funeral to go to, so he didn't get his, the foundation, all the plans done for that,
Okay,
because he's away.
okay.
I had some rough sketches on what we're doing, what we want to do,
Yeah.
proposing.
Yeah, I'd like to see them. I think they should be submitted as part of the public record, is that not true?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need a lot map. Is this a map of the lot? No, this is just the construction.
That's just what we want to do.
Okay. Well, I think I made a site visit today, so I think I understand what's going on. These other people might not, because they may not be familiar with the property. But this is the house behind the Glen Ford garage, or adjacent to it, actually.
Yeah, it's on this side of it.
Okay, the one that's not sided yet, it just has the insulation on the sides.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're on Route 28 and facing the house, is this addition on the left-hand side or on the right-hand side?
It'll be on the left, it'll be on this side of it.
The side adjacent to your neighbor where that row of trees is?
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, we're in the process of starting to cut the trees down. We're gonna take all the trees down just because they're 100-footers and a little dangerous.
oh, you cut all those down?
Yeah, we're gonna get all the trees out,
Oh, okay,
grind the stumps, get rid of all the roots before, any of this can happen. But
It didn't seem to me, usually these area variances are quite easy. It didn't seem to me there was that much room between the edge of the existing house and the border of your property. Are those trees on your property?
we got, those are all in our property.
Uh-huh.
I think it was like about 22 feet, almost 23 feet, I think, from the side of the building to
Okay.
the property line.
You're asking for a 14-foot extension, I think.
At 12, 14, I'm not sure what's actually allowed.
I think the setback is 60 feet. Isn't that what we looked at?
40.
Howie, I can't hear you.
40.
40 feet? Okay, so then it would be 22, so 18 foot?
18-foot variance. Okay. Okay. You guys understand that?
it's
Okay.
18-foot closer than what the code is.
Right. So that would be projecting closer to a neighbor's property, that house on that side, that's the greenhouse. Have you had any contact with your neighbor concerning that?
Yeah, Ward Todd owns the building next to us.
Okay.
The trees, I don't know if there's 2 or 3 trees out front that are on his land, which are coming down also.
Okay.
And we talked about doing a fence between it, which, he's fine with it.
Okay. Does he live there now?
No, rents it.
Okay,
We bought it a few years ago,
okay.
I don't know how many years ago,
Right.
probably 3 at least.
Well, absent of any vociferous disagreement amongst the neighbors, we usually grant these kind of variances. But two things. One, I think we need a site plan or site map to approve.
The survey,
A survey.
just for that line, that side, would probably be, yeah.
I do have I didn't realize that we needed it tonight.
Well, the other thing is, before we can do anything, we need to hold a public hearing. And we need to
Right.
publicize that public hearing. If there are any disagreeing or supportive neighbors that want to speak, then we need to hear from them and
Right.
incorporate their testimony into our decision. But absent of that, it seems like somewhat of a no-brainer, but we do have to go through that legal step.
Yeah, how we explained that all.
Okay. So I make a motion that we hold a public hearing at our next meeting for the Glen Ford application for an area variance.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you, I checked your exemption with county today, and he's within 500 feet, but it says all residential stuff.
Within 500 feet of a county road.
Any road county wants you to refer to, but yes, certainly county.
Is that true with the town road?
Yes.
Okay.
They exempted the private road that one time.
Right.
But his own business, it's commercial. So your exemption from county is, it lists residential, but you may just want to refer anyways to be safe. Just putting it out there.
Okay. So in other words, refer to the county if there's any objection about impeding right of way on a county road or anything like that, and they win. So, yeah, so we have to put in that application to the county.
You have to make a motion for me to do it.
Okay, so I make a motion that we apply to the county for a decision on
Feedback.
feedback. Okay.
Yeah,
Feedback.
because you can make your own decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we prefer it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a formality, actually, if you know.
Right.
For the Glen Ford
Carries.
variance application, may I have a second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we'll refer it to county and set the public hearing for the next meeting.
Okay. So that notice will go out to all the adjacent landowners, and it'll appear in the public paper record, which is now the Kingston Freeman, right?
Kingston Freeman and on our website.
And anybody who wants to participate and come speak up, we will listen to them, and then we can make a decision on your various application at that time. Okay, thank you, see you next time.
Anything else I can bring next time that, I mean, by then we'll have it.
site plan.
Okay.
A survey of the site.
With the house on it, obviously.
Now,
Structure.
and this structure was built on an existing foundation, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be grandfathered in. But yes, we need a survey of the property before we can proceed.
Can we go with the last survey that was done?
If it's accurate, if there's not been any changes, why not? There's a date limit? I mean, if it was done 10 years ago, it's still valid if there's no changes, right?
Yeah, but the structure, I mean, it's just longer than 10 years ago was built.
Oh, yeah, I don't know when they surveyed it, probably about when Carl Larish bought the house down back, I think they had that surveyed, and,
If it's still accurate, that's perfectly acceptable.
yeah, nothing.
Yeah, we don't want to force you to spend money on a surveyor if you don't have to.
Right,
But,
okay.
Yeah, so if we can take a look at that and have a visual reference so we can make sure everybody understands what's going on.
Okay.
And then beyond that, I don't see any reason we can't afford this variance. There's no impediment on right-of-way, no public right-of-way, no impediment on your neighbor's property.
Right.
It enhances your own property, enhances your property value, enhances the value of the neighborhood, blah, blah, blah. So we just need this formality of a public hearing.
Mhm.
So if you can bear with us, we will
Yeah,
make a decision next month.
yeah,
Okay, thank you, sir.
thank you.
Okay.
Just to add, county's probably gonna need that survey that
Yeah.
pretty soon.
Yeah, so Glenn, I have to, county meets before they meet,
Yep.
and they need it soon, so they'll want to see that survey too.
And that has to be 10 days prior to our meeting.
County meets first of the month, first week of the month, so
First week.
it'll be ahead of yours.
So make sure you get the survey in time for the county so we can dot all our Ts, cross all our Is, dot all our Is, cross all our Ts. Okay, thank you.
I can be in touch with you tomorrow.
Okay, you want this back?
I think I need it for Tony.
Well, this is just the construction plans of the actual construction, it's not the survey of the property.
Okay.
So I think you do need it for the.
Okay.
Thank you. Alan?
I'm Mark,
Alan.
Gary, Hank.
Yeah, them guys.
You know them guys?
We were at you.
He's the kid on the block. Yeah.
Good.
Okay, so the next is the disposition of the Pines Restaurant, Bar, nightclub, whatever. And there's no application in front of the board, but the owner, Mr. Bernstein, is confused at how to proceed. You're Mr. Bernstein, correct?
I am.
Could you please tell us what, from your point of view, what has transpired so far?
Yeah, but
So
no-
what the situation
Yeah,
is?
I'd love to, thank you so much. So I opened the Pines 4.5 years ago. We did live music all the time. It's on my liquor license. It is in all my insurances. It was something that I spoke to Warren Tuck at the time, who was the zoning enforcer. It was put before the board, I was told, as far as, I did the light business, which was lodging and restaurant. Tisso's Restaurant and Inn had been there for 55 years prior to me. So I've been operating, doing my business without any complaints. As we all know, we're in a global pandemic, which has kind of pushed my business outside. I'm lucky that I have a nice piece of land that I can be able to expand out there and be able to serve people food and do what we do in a safe manner. Last summer, we did music on Saturdays. I dealt with my contiguous neighbors, talked about it. There were some concerns at which the time I had dealt with them, and that is that we only do music on Saturdays between a few hours ranging like 5 to 8. We're done before dark.
Is it every Saturday, is it recurring?
It's pretty much, we try to when it's nice weather, but it rains a lot, and so it's not every Saturday. I took my first vacation in 5 years, and I came home to this certified letter in the mailbox, which was threatening me with fines and imprisonment if I was not compliant.
Okay.
This is the first I'm hearing of anything, so it's a little strange to me.
If you're not compliant to what?
If I'm not compliant to doing no music. So this is also a noise violation that I'm being told. I have since done the FOIA Act, and the Shandaken police have never been called once
Okay.
about my restaurant.
Okay.
When I filed the FOIA Act with the zoning department, at the time that I filed it, there were no formal complaints. How he solicited complaints, I have it right here. He emailed people asking for complaints. To me, that feels a little unethical. I'm not sure. But to me, oh, also, if I could backtrack a second, the minute I got the letter, I called Sarah. I tried to figure out what was going on because it was very surprising to me. I then came in and met with Howie, and he had said to me that I needed to, it all of a sudden became a zoning issue when it was a noise issue. Now the zoning issue says no nightclubs in our zoning. These codes are written in 1976. I happen to know there are nightclubs that existed after that, right down the street from me for years. I'm not a nightclub. I'm basically a day club. I have families that come and put blankets out and listen to music. I have letters that I can leave you with all of my contiguous neighbors that are in full support and explain that we've been very neighborly with each other and that they've come and complained to me with issues. I've worked on them. Another issue that was brought to my attention after the fact, as this saga has continued, was that some people are concerned with parking. I've spent $20,000 on my parking lot, making it bigger. I've spoken to the police. I have worked with Pamela Hammond on getting the town to put up no parking signs. I worked with my other neighbor, Catherine, on roping off an area that people were parking and they weren't supposed to. I have, as far as I know, I've been a good neighbor and I have tried to make things nice. This stuff comes as a surprise. It feels like an attack. I'm not sure what's going on. There's emails between Howie and Peter DeSclafani, who's another neighbor of mine. He's also a town board member. To me, that also feels unethical, but they're behind closed doors and talking about my property and my business instead of coming to me like a human being. And so that's where I'm at. I want to know, I'm not a nightclub. And I know there's some part of the code that says if the music is integral to your business, then you're allowed to do it. It is integral to my business, and I do it respectfully, and we end at a good hour, and it's one day a week, a few months a year. I would love to go. Some of the complaints that were solicited and came in state that I go for 4 hours deep into the night. This is not true. My other neighbors will tell you this is not true. And so I want to be able to, also I've gotten these complaints that people have said, Jeremy could have gone back inside months ago and he didn't. Jeremy could not have gone back inside months ago. We're all wearing masks here. I'm fully vaccinated. My whole staff is. The Delta variant is raging. I am not putting my staff in harm's way, and I'm not putting my customers in harm's way. And I want to be able to provide the fun day that we provide for the community, for so many people that in this dark time need a little enjoyment in their life. And it's very reasonable hours. I would love to do music inside. I just can't do it right. So I would like to know, in these codes, do I need a variance to do that? If so, I would love to take the proper channels, or I want to know, because it's integral to my business, I can look up that code and send an email to you guys. I misplaced it in my stack.
I have the code right here.
Okay, so I would like to know if indeed I need that. And I would also like to know if it's proper protocol to send these kind of certified letters without it going to a town clerk, without it going to a town supervisor, without it going to the zoning board. Why, this feels like a lot of stuff's been done behind closed doors, and it feels pretty bad. Feels like an abuse of power.
Why exactly are you here?
I'm here because I've gotten letters and several emails from Howie telling me that I'm not allowed to do music outside. I have been completely compliant since the day I got this letter. We have not done live music since July 10th. It's over a month. I'm not trying to be pushy or a bad person. I'm trying to do it by the book. I'm trying to be respectful of whatever the law is, so I want to know, am I able to do that between the hours of 5 and 7:30, 8 o'clock, stopping before dark? Anyone can do that in their backyard. And I happen to know that Shandaken doesn't even have decibel readers. So who's going to come and read the decibel if I'm playing loud music? Not only that, the police have never been called once. Never for parking, never for noise. And the only complaints that are formalized were solicited. I have the emails, you guys probably have them as well. I can hand you all of them if you would like.
All right, so just so the crew understands, Mr. Bernstein's not here applying for variance, he's here for guidance as to whether or not you need variance. So a couple things. When was your first concert, outdoor concert?
Last summer.
When?
For the pandemic, we did it. I didn't open until August. I was closed for 5 months, from March 14th to August 6th. I had a bunch of outdoor projects. I did a septic with the DEC and the CWC. I wasn't able to open until August. So I did music August, September, part of October.
Last
August, September, part of October. And then I did some music. I think the first concert, the first little show we did was maybe May or June.
Okay.
And then, so we've only done about 5 this year because of rain and because I stopped on July 10th.
Okay, so Howie, that begs the question is, why are we getting these complaints now?
I mean, why is he here?
So you're
really
seeking,
well. I think we should hear from,
you're seeking guidance from us.
He's in an R1.5
Correct.
residential district.
That's not the question. The question was, why were you seeking complaints now, not when you first started this? He's had a number of concerts,
Yeah.
and we're just now receiving complaints. Any
Well-
explanation for that?
Howie told me in the office that he heard that at a party. These are not formal complaints. It's hearsay.
Did you receive formal complaints in your department?
I received a bunch of verbal complaints. And, first of all, I didn't solicit, okay, I didn't solicit anybody. I didn't tell people, call people and say, you gotta come in. I was at a gathering, I wouldn't call it a party, small, maybe 16 people.
Okay,
And there was a group of people standing talking.
okay.
And they're on Miller Road, across the street.
Right. Across the river as well, right?
Across the river, yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah. So, so they started to talk about it, and I said, as town building inspector, what you need to do is file a complaint. If that's soliciting, anybody who calls the office with a complaint, I say, file a complaint. We have a form on our website, you can download it, fill it out. So that's what happened.
Okay.
what
And
exactly was the complaint?
loud music.
And did we, the town, find out whether it was loud or not?
We don't have a sound.
Yeah, there's no way to determine that.
Excuse me,
No,
Mark,
sir.
I have something to say about that, which is that I got the letter on July 19th. His formal complaints came in on August 10th, and
Okay.
there is an email from Howie asking for them to complain.
Okay.
So if you would like to see that, I have the FOIA act, I have it all.
All right.
And this stuff happened, this one was on July 29th, which is 10 days after. And then there's another one that came in on August.
I mean, is this actually a concert, or you just have a band there, one band that plays music?
We have a band that plays music for a few hours while people eat food and
Yeah,
enjoy
That's
themselves.
not a concert, that's just.
No, that's just.
It's not a concert.
Playing
It's-
music for your
That's right.
customers or patrons.
Well, first of all, understand, if the building inspector receives any complaint, he's obligated to act on it. Legally obligated.
Even if it's at a party. Like, this is no, I'm not getting, you didn't get formal complaints to your town until a month after I got my letter from him. After I hadn't done music for a month.
That's
So,
problematic.
nothing is
Well, I
added.
explained to people that there was a process, because I told Jeremy, the only avenue I see is to go for a use variance, and I advised him that's very, very difficult,
And possibly unnecessary.
Yeah.
okay? So,
Okay.
so I should have to say that the complaints that came in, none of the people want to shut Jeremy down. Yes, I did have a conversation with Peter, who's on the town board, and he mentioned, but he didn't write a formal letter, and he didn't push me or shove me into soliciting. But let me just say that all of the complaints we got from people have said they're looking for a compromise. And I suggested to him, maybe acoustic music outside would be acceptable.
Acoustic, what?
Acoustic music.
Okay.
You know, they're playing with band, they've got mics, they've got
Right.
drums, they've got amplifiers. It's in a residential neighborhood.
Okay.
And it's happening frequently on Saturday nights. And a lot of people said they kept their mouths shut because they realized how, you know, our hospitality people were in bad shape. So
Right.
they accommodated that. And I know personally that people are very reluctant to complain.
Mhm.
And when the cops are called for a noise complaint, basically what they say is, we just turn it down for a little while, and so that's the reality. So people are willing to compromise here, and in the R1.5, a tavern, a bar, a nightclub is not permitted.
Okay.
Now, Tizo's was pre-existing non-conforming,
Right.
right? They never had live music outside,
Okay.
so that's the issue.
Okay, so the restaurant is grandfathered in from the Tizos, your purchase from Tizos.
Yes.
And you're also a lodging facility, is that correct? Okay, so let's walk through the zoning code. You're calling this a nightclub.
If you look at the definition, I mean, I think it's a poor definition, I said that.
It's the closest, though, I looked to, yeah. It's the closest
It's
definition.
not a nightclub.
Well, here's the definition of nightclub as per the zoning code, which you observe was written in 1974, I think
76.
pre,
Non-conforming pre-existing.
yeah. Okay, a drinking establishment which includes an area in which patrons may dance or which provides live entertainment other than by a single instrumental musician or vocalist. Okay, so by that definition, you may be considered a nightclub. So let's turn to the zoning laws. You're in R1.5. A tavern, bar, or nightclub not integral
To a hotel.
to a hotel, motel, or lodge development. It's true, it's not permitted in R1.5. Your tavern, nightclub, call it whatever you want, is integral.
That's right.
So, by implication, does that mean in the zoning code that if it is integral, it's allowed? Well, nothing in the zoning code actually addresses that. So the zoning code doesn't go quite far enough in addressing that. So it's a hole in the zoning code. We want to be strict interpretations. Okay? So it's going to be up to us to have to interpret this.
Let me ask you a question. Does the Emerson have a nightclub license?
I'm sorry.
The Emerson Resort, do they have a nightclub license? Like they do parties, they do weddings, you can hear the music from the Emerson all the way over on Plank Road. I mean, do they have a special,
They're in a different district, they're in highway business. So it's a different code, I don't know, you have to look in front of you.
They still go to 11 at night, so does Foxfire. I feel like I'm being singled out, which,
And then for years, in that same district he's in, you had the old white front, and then it became the Horsemen, when they played music till 4 in the morning.
Whitewater Depot, right down the road.
Yeah, the
Whitewater
old Horsemen,
Depot
right
is
by
also
the old
the
merch.
Hamlet, I'm sorry, business, commercial.
It is, it's right down the street from me.
Yeah, it is.
Let's
But
still
they'd
be-
require a special permit by that same code that you just read.
We require a special use permit, yes.
Can we go back to the hours? I mean, you never went past 8 o'clock?
Maybe once we did, but if so, it never gone into dark, and I have worked very hard this year that it's always done by 8 o'clock.
Generally 4 o'clock to...
It's not even at 4 o'clock, it's 5:30 to 7:30, 8 at the latest.
Let's delve a little deeper into the codes. There is a noise regulation. And that noise regulation is at the R5, R3, R1.5, which you're in.
Yes.
From 7
AM.
a.m. to 7 p.m. is 57 decibels.
Yep.
And then there's another from 7 o'clock at night till 7 in the morning.
7 more, 53 decibels.
53.
So how much is 57 decibels? Well, if you look it up on, if you Google, you'll find out that conversation with an air conditioner on is typically 60 decibels. Oh, you got it here. Subway shouted conversation, 95 decibels. This is what kills me. Gas-powered lawnmower, 80 to 85 decibels. So every time I mow my lawn, I'm in violation of the noise code.
The codes are very
Okay.
strict, yeah.
Well,
And if it's a, it's a certain type of tone, sound, you deduct 5 decibels from that.
for any source of sound which emits a pure tone, a discrete tone, or impulsive sound, does that describe any of your music?
No, it's sweet, lovely, soft melodies.
Oh, that's not in here.
Yeah.
Sorry. The maximum sound limit set forth above shall be reduced by 5 dBA. So again, this is written in 1974. This is totally unrealistic. It's totally unrealistic. Unrealistic.
Well, then you have to change the code.
And it actually is written in dBA, which is different from decibels. dBA is an attenuated decibel, where the actual volume limit is different based on the tone and how the human ear perceives it. A lower tone will have a much higher decibel. It'll take a louder low tone to reach 53 dBA than it will a high tone. So music, even if you kept it at a constant volume, is going to go like this on a dBA. When the low notes are played, The decibel level is the same, but the dBA drops way down. So you just need to have everybody sing in a bass tone and you're fine.
Sounds good.
Normal conversation, background music, 60 decibels. Rustling leaves, 30 decibels. So, and as Elizabeth points out, there's not a single commercial generator in the market that's probably below about 120 decibels, including mine. So, by my reading of the code, you guys have to let me know if you agree that he's allowed to have music on his on-premise.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with that too. He's allowed. I mean, if he was doing it every night of the week, and he was just running concert,
Yeah.
this isn't even a concert.
It's
This
only
is
8
just
o'clock at
playing.
night, that's early for sure.
And the other issue of my concern is that, you know, this is a community that is deeply steeped in our musical tradition. You're half a mile drove from Woodstock, and Woodstock, every 20 citizens is some kind of accomplished international young musician.
I grew up in Woodstock, and I've lived in Chichester for 20 years. I'm a taxpayer in Shandaken. I vote here.
I'm reluctant to make any decision on this board which would impugn the ability of anybody to stage a musical performance reasonable vis-a-vis the community
I think we should,
character.
I think we should give them permit to keep the music going at least till midnight.
Oh, midnight? Well, we were like that guy. All right. Are you gonna be there dancing or? No. So the way I read this is, it's illegal for you to have musical performance. And by the way, if you can move it indoors, that solves the problem right away.
Yes, and I would love to, but right now we're in a raging pandemic.
The way I read this is you don't need a use variance, you need a special permit from the town board to exceed the decibel levels for your performance. Can I get any agreement on that? You would need a special permit from the planning board to be able to exceed the allowable decibel regulation.
I think that would have to go before the town board.
For a special permit?
No, to change the code.
I didn't say that, I said special permit to exceed the code.
So then you're gonna give Jeremy a special permit, and then how many other people in town gonna stop playing music in their backyard? And
They're already doing it. It happens everywhere.
If you stand on your back porch and talk to somebody, you're breaking the
Where
law.
people play live music.
Yeah.
It is the Catskills. It is the home of Woodstock. People come to our area to spend money to see music. We all know we live in a tourist area. I grew up in Woodstock. Woodstock wouldn't be there if it wasn't for tourists coming through. It wouldn't be there if music wasn't there, if wonderful restaurants weren't there. We provide beautiful local food for people. We provide a little bit of entertainment on a Saturday. If the code says 7 p.m., I will stop music at 7 p.m. on the dot.
Well, you just have to reduce it to 53 dBA.
And where is that measured from?
Pardon?
Where is that measured from? How far? Across the street? Where's the measurement taken?
I would suggest the next door neighbor.
Well, it's from what I've been told by the police, that it would be measured from the complainant's house.
Do you have any
Yes.
complainants next door to you?
Well, and again, we're
Directly
talking
next door?
theoretically.
No.
So the nearest one that.
There is
would
no
be-
meter.
We can assume would be well under the allowable.
Right
You
across
have
the
to
street.
see when they complain,
Right across
if
the
they
street.
complain.
Howie, that could be a special.
Well, right
permit.
across the street, I would still say would probably be well underneath there. I know the music that's played there, and it's not content of any loudness. It's not that loud.
And Shandaken doesn't have a decibel reader, so I don't know who's gonna read it.
Yeah. Howie, that could be a conditional permit. He has to stop the music at 8 p.m.
I don't think you can do that. I don't think we don't.
Well, why not?
I don't know. Wouldn't that something?
I think you might have a right to do what he's doing.
They just let it be, I mean, he's really not breaking any law.
Yeah, if he's
Like I said
allowed to
before.
have the nightclub, which is, I agree with your interpretation of that line.
It's
If
integral.
he is allowed to operate it, it's integral to the lodge, the restaurant. Then there comes the problem of if we start receiving complaints at the police department because of loud noise, they can check it out.
The
And
police complaints are not the only
Yeah.
identifier. There are complaints to the building.
well, but those
department
complaints
after
came in after the concerts have stopped. So we need an actual, okay, there's a complaint right now, he's too loud right now, And that is, when we're gonna need to check it out. And then I agree also that the code is outdated, and this is one of the ones that we have to figure out, how do we make this so that it's legal for you to mow your lawn again?
Yeah.
I think those are two separate issues, but,
Yeah.
Well, you're on the town board in the middle of this, and I was like, whoa, what are we deciding here?
You haven't done anything yet. We're asking you to do your job.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I don't know why it would be referred to the town board in any aspect.
I'm saying he needs a special permit, or he should ask for a
Okay,
special
hold
permit.
on.
How is that done? How is that done?
Before it goes through you, you give a special, any kind of special permit is a variance, you vary from the existing law. So if you're gonna vary from it, it goes before the ZBA, the zoning board of appeals, to review whether it needs an additional allowance.
My understanding is this board cannot issue a special permit. That's only the plan.
but I think we can issue a variance, though, not a special permit. Because maybe a variance is more
Your
appropriate.
job is to issue the decision and refer that to the planning board. The planning board issues the actual permit.
That's what I'm suggesting. That's
Yeah,
exactly what I'm
So
suggesting.
let's hold on there for a second.
Yeah, does he really need that?
I'd like to just back up, and I'm sorry, Jeremy, if you could, so I can see the board. Jeremy.
I'm sorry.
The first issue is, we keep going around the decimeter.
Yeah.
Now, I know for a fact that Mr. McGowan had a conversation with our chief of police regarding this matter a few months ago or a few weeks ago.
Okay.
He himself had told me.
Okay.
We do not have anybody certified, which costs the town money, to do a decimeter, because we have very rare uses for it.
Right.
And to that extent that we have to follow through in court. We've never gone to court for a noise ordinance.
Right.
Secondly, he's correct, you test from the house of the complainant, not from his own property.
Right.
So that's two. Number three, the complaints were originally anonymous verbal complaints. There was no hard evidentiary proof.
Okay.
Howie did not, he said, he did not hear it himself. When it came to parking, there were no photos. There was nothing to attest to it. The police have no record of any complaints on either side of that. So to go on, as Jeremy said, basically hearsay and issue a letter saying, we're going to give you a violation, that was the first step. And believe me, the town is not going to incur the cost of, you have to certify an officer, they have to be certified at least annually, I think maybe it's every 6 months, with the state to use the decimeter.
Really?
Yes. You have to get a certified decimeter that has to be sent to the state for recalculation periodically to ensure that it's doing the job correctly. Second of all, you call and ask to have that done from the complainant's property. You can't do that if you have an anonymous verbal complaint. You can't go to the property because you don't know who's complaining. So I think Howard went to look to see who complained, so if we could follow through with the decimeter, then it could be tested for those people's properties. And that may have been the ultimate end game for him, is what he was looking at. And the other things, the band, the size of the band, acoustic, I'd like to see in the code book specifically where it defines. Now, I heard you say, they can have a small band for nightclub or something, you said it's a small band, it's not a large band, whatever. But he's taking that, and again, I agree that it's a hotel inn integral to the business. So it's basically a hotel that has that single exception because he's integral.
Right.
It gives him that exemption.
Therefore,
Now,
legal.
I also do agree with Howie that I think Jeremy should agree to say 7 o'clock, knowing that he's in a residential district, 7 o'clock, stop the music. That's it. Then there's no question. Because he could be running a lawnmower, he could have 6 of them lined up on his property line until 7 p.m. that night. And believe me, I have a neighbor that mows at 8 o'clock at night. It doesn't really bother me, but I mean.
Well, technically, that is in violation of the code of the
No,
noise
it's
code.
not.
Yes,
Not-
it is.
It's not for day use. That's for a time from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. overnight.
It says 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. residential to 57 dBA.
So we don't know, but
But we just demonstrated 57 dBA is
It's not
ridiculously
possible
low.
yet.
Yeah,
See, I didn't see anything about residential district noise level for
well, I'll
daytime.
show you on my way out, it's right here, right?
Okay.
So,
So,
no argument.
that being said, either way, there's still no evidentiary proof about the noise level.
Correct.
Then that spins into, he needs a permit in order to operate, because technically it's illegal, whether it's a nightclub or even a hotel restaurant. So essentially, it's going towards, if you don't respond, we're shutting you down, unless you get the permit. The use variance is difficult to get, okay?
But a special permit is not so difficult to get.
So hold on, before we take that step, why is he being required? He has talked to Warren Tuck back in the day, it was presented before the planning board, they looked at it for site plan for his parking area to ensure that it was within the parameters they needed. It fit, they said there's no permit necessary at the time, and Warren agreed. We had a letter from Joe Tizzo saying it was only closed a year and a half for renovation. Under the code, you allow closure for 5 years to continue the existing operation. So it's pre-existing non-conforming as Tizzo's, and it continued as the Pines, well within the 5-year limit, as a pre-existing non-conforming operation.
Okay,
That's been thrown out the window, we need a permit now. Well, there's no permit issue because no permit was required at the time. It was a continuation of the existing usage of the property as it was considered acceptable as being prior to the adoption of the zoning code.
right.
So that's where that went. But I don't think there was an investigation deeper into that to see why that occurred or what occurred with that. It was just, you need a special use variance, and otherwise you're going to get closed. And that's what Jeremy came into my office talking to me about it at the beginning of the month, and I had no idea any of this was going on. And I asked Howie to come down and explain what was going on after Jeremy left, and he gave his position. I did not wholly agree with him at the time, and I still have issues with what's being said, but I also have to add, Jeremy has threatened litigation, and the town should be responding with, well, from the town board, we're basically talking to our attorneys about what's going on, what's transpired, and where we go from here. Because if it does move forward to court or violation factor, it has to go before justice. And that may have to move out of town because of conflict of interests or something. Generally, it's a change of venue, but you move it out of town. You're going to be talking months. To the end game, the judge going, so who are your witnesses? Well, I have these, but they're dated almost a month after, and I have no proof, actual hard evidentiary proof of the sound issue to begin with that started the whole ball rolling to start. So,
Well, if all of that is true, which I believe it all is, because I know the previous owner, and I know that he did have music there because Chuck used to play all the time.
This is true.
You
Chuck
know,
is
I
a
mean,
recording musician.
However, to try and resolve this issue, wouldn't it be best to go back to the building department and have the building department re-examine what they did and why they did it, and maybe withdraw whatever they presented to Mr. Bernstein?
that's up to the code officer.
Yeah, I know, but
But the other, to Jeremy's point as well, every restaurant in this town moved outdoors last year especially. Some even added movies, what do you call it, cornhole games, all kinds of outside games. I mean, I live next to the Arms. My front door is literally 40 feet from the back porch of the Arms. My wife worked there for 20 years. They had music, but it was inside the base. They came outside with music. I have no say in it, but to be honest, it really doesn't bother me. They play actually kind of nice music. So, if they don't like it, I shut the door and put the AC on and I don't hear anything. So.
Yeah, but Rob, you're in the middle of town.
But they're also adjacent to residential parcels. So
Yeah.
they're actually open to the
But
same
you're on
sound.
Main Street,
And
and
they
Pioneer
brought
Lawns
against
play music
residential
forever.
behind them.
I don't have any record. From my recollection, the Tizos was a quiet little restaurant. That's what it was.
Very
Now, the people are not objecting to Jeremy playing music inside. They're objecting to the outdoor I mean, it's practically in some people's backyard.
It's in, isn't it in the previous owner's backyard? And he owns the house across the street that's adjacent to it?
I have contiguous neighbors' letters for all of you guys, all stating that I've worked with them as a nice neighbor, that they have agreed to a Saturday music at the time in which
I mean,
we do the music.
I kind of agree with you because you're only doing it one night a week, and it's kind of give back to the patrons and the people that come to your restaurant.
Families come, kids run
Yeah,
around,
that's what I
they
understand.
have a wonderful time,
And
and
it's
then we
only
shut down
$12.
at dark. We shut down at dark. We're done at dark.
The dark is earlier.
Well, dark is now getting earlier, which means it's gonna be dark, music would be done way before dark,
Yeah.
because you gotta break down, you gotta clean up, you gotta, it's a reasonable request.
Understood. So Howie and Rob, if we grant this person a use variance to allow a nightclub and perform music, how does that offer remedy, Rob, how does it offer remedy to the complainants? Then he gives him license to play as loud as he wants, anytime he wants. That's not a remedy.
No, it's not.
And I don't even wanna do that. I wanna have a nice Saturday afternoon where our patrons come, our community, and have a nice time, and provide that. It's done, as I said, it's done by dark or before dark. It's only happening one day a week. If it rains, it doesn't happen. It's only happening a few months, a year.
And once we're over this COVID issue, it'll be indoors,
We'll be doing music indoors.
thereby removing
That's the major complaint, is the outdoor music. And if Jeremy's gonna say, well, as soon as the COVID thing is gone, I'm only gonna do music inside, everybody would be happy.
I would also like to say that out of the complainants, there's only one that has come to me and talked to me. And we've talked about stuff, I thought we were on a good page,
Okay.
but now there is a complaint. The other ones have never come and talked to me. If someone comes and talks to me, I take the time to listen, to find out what's going on, to understand where the problem is, and to try to fix it.
Well, that's always the ideal solution.
Yeah.
So,
So these people all also say that they enjoy coming to my restaurant and they spend money and eat there. This day that we do on Saturdays helps to keep my restaurant alive. It helps to keep my employees paid, and it helps to keep the restaurant going. It helps to keep a place where the community comes to gather and to eat food and to enjoy themselves. And that day is integral to my business.
The prevailing sentiment of this committee is also run on, and the way Barbara's trying to run this committee is three things. One is community safety, keeping everybody out of peril. The second thing is maintaining the economic viability of the community. And the third thing is maintaining the community character. Do we all agree with that?
Yes, absolutely.
I
Okay.
always agree with you.
So what do you,
I agree, I think that this is not an issue, that's what I think. I mean, for the time that he's doing what he's doing, I don't think it should be an issue. I think the complaints are unwarranted, I know that you can make a complaint, anybody can complain about anything. Whether they
Complaints
have
are-
grievance.
How do you know the complaints are unwarranted?
I don't know that, just like you don't know how loud it is, I don't know that. I'm going by experience and judgment.
but if there's a complaint, you
I'm
can't assume that.
I'm a musician as well. I'm the last person who wants to chase music out of Shandaken.
You're a musician.
There's no place left. And I play music outside, and it's very different than inside. Inside, the sound bounces off the walls, it gets dissipated. Outside, it gets projected.
I still think it's not an issue because it's from 4 to 7, 4 to 8 o'clock. I don't see what the issue is.
Well, if he's gonna shut the music down at 7 o'clock, he can go to 57 decibels.
It's 57 dBA, it's not decibels.
Okay.
It's a different
dBA,
meter.
yes.
So if you guys can figure out what that is, if your town can get the equipment and tell me what that is, I will abide to it. Otherwise, I can't.
Yeah, we have,
You can buy the instrument and walk across the street.
But I don't have to.
Mark, there's somebody in the back that raised their hand if you want public.
Well, first of all, it's not a public comment. Okay, well, you speak. Speak. Did you have any
Somebody raise
raised?
your hand.
We'd like to speak.
Yeah, I just want to say, I didn't know this was going to be you're just going to decide things without some sort of hearing from others that do live in the neighborhood and have issued a complaint, not solicited. And I think your idea of what the sound is not realistic. And I don't think Jeremy, in all good faith, is realistic for him either. Because I don't think he's experienced it he's experienced this in his restaurant and what they're doing, but he's not experiencing it if you're in a house. I don't have central air. I can't just close the windows.
Okay.
It's a sound issue. That's really, and it's also a parking issue. Because it spills out, it's not just in Jeremy's parking lots, which he has extensively built. I appreciate all of that. But it's now all up down to 212, all around Heinz. It occupies a lot of the day for those of us who live there. And I think there is compromise to be had, but I don't think the compromise is just carry on. And if you come over to my house on a Saturday afternoon and hear it at the level that it's been, I think you'd understand it's a reasonable complaint. I don't need a decimal reader to tell me that I can't get away from the sound, or that my house is not vibrating, or if I go across the river, that it's almost even louder over there because it's working as an amphitheater off the mountain.
So in your mind, what would be an appropriate compromise?
Probably acoustic, or at the very least, turning it down a lot. It's amplified. You can hear that music very well on the property without that level of amplification. And I love music. I do. I love music. I want Jeremy to be successful. I want the Times to be successful. I've supported his restaurant. But this is becoming unsustainable. And it doesn't seem that there's any intention to pull it back, but more to expand it. And that's really, I think, what worries me, that there isn't always an intention to continue.
So if this is an inconvenience every couple weekends out of the summer for 2 hours, you're saying that's unsustainable to your quality of
It's from
life?
May till October. And
Every couple of weeks?
Every
Once a
week.
week?
Every week, unless it rains.
Don't people mow lawns on weekends?
Yeah, you have to put up with that, you have to put up with the tree cutting, you have to put up with all of that. But
And
you
the
also
addition
have to,
building, the house building, all that.
but you
nail
also,
guns,
yes,
yeah.
and septic building and everything else.
All of it.
We don't need to be, we can tit for tat, but it's not gonna help. I think there's a way to make this work, that you don't suffer and the neighborhood doesn't suffer. But we're here now, with people who have not heard it, about to say, go ahead. And go ahead with some kind of understanding, maybe, but just to go ahead without hearing anything from anybody else that is not.
That's not the case. We said to you when you came in that this is not a public hearing.
Yes, I
If
know
it
that.
proceeds to that, there will be a public hearing. You will have adequate
Okay, I
time.
misunderstood. It sounded like we were just moving towards, you were going to just okay this, and there wasn't going to be a public hearing.
I think
Well, no,
you
where
misheard.
we're-
You misheard. You
Where we're
misheard.
at is we're trying to decide if he needs a permit. In order for us to say he needs a variance or a permit,
Right.
he needs to be doing something that is a violation, and that's what we're trying to determine.
I understand.
That,
That part I understand.
yeah, and so far, I don't think we've identified an actual violation. We can't measure the decibels, so that conversation's a dead end. There's no reason to say that word again, because we have no way to measure it, so I don't see why we would talk about whether he's at 53 or 57. So it comes down to whether or not he is legally entitled by our code to operate a nightclub. Bad word for what he's doing, but it's what we got, or not. And our interpretation of the code, unless someone else has a different interpretation of the code, is yes, he is.
And I have one other thing is that, I know I said it earlier, but, and this is for you guys as well. When I got this letter, the first thing I did was call the office. I'm being compliant. I am trying to be a good neighbor. I try to understand and figure out where these things were coming from. I also have not played a concert, even though I could have. I had 30 days to comply. I could have done a concert every weekend for a month. And I did not. So I am trying. I'm working with my neighbors. As you see, I've got the ones that actually touch my property line, contiguous abutting neighbors, that have all written letters. I would hope you guys would read them. And I've been doing the best I can while losing money because of it, loss of revenue, and just to be a good neighbor and to be good with the town. Yeah.
Right now, just one more to further what I was saying, and I think Jeremy obviously, at least is going to agree with some of what I've said because he did shut himself down for a month. I don't know, based on what Rob said, what other people have heard, I don't know how the ZBA enforces noise violations. I see no way for us to do anything about that, but that's what this stems from. And yet there may be no official complaints. I think moving forward, since this has become an issue, and the neighbors are speaking up, some positive, some not exactly negative, but conscientious and are looking for a solution, I would imagine if this really is a problem moving forward after the next couple of concerts, there will be official complaints if it is actually a problem. And I'm not arguing with anybody. As you said, I don't know. I have been to the Pines on a Saturday afternoon at one of the first concerts you did. It didn't strike me as loud. I was up at the Jeff's area, the coffee shack there, and was able to carry on in normal speaking volume, hearing the people I was speaking to, of whether or not a permit is needed if it is integral. So I said that there might be a hole in the code. Maybe we do need to say that, but right now it doesn't say it, and we have to go by literal interpretation. We don't get to say, well, it doesn't say it, so we imagine they meant to write down. I don't see where we get to do that.
I think there is a hole in the code, and what Howard said is dispositive. Just because it's not mentioned in the code doesn't mean it's not allowed, correct?
And there's also past practice and pre-existing non-conforming. And those are the issues that you have to look at. Some people can read a paragraph and say it means this. Other people read a paragraph and say it means something else. But what it really means is the way it's been presented for the last 50 years. Whatever the person has done for 50 years and nobody complained about it. So that business has been, at least I know, 40 years. Joe's mother, his father, Joe Tiso, there was music there.
No complaint about the restaurant. It's the outdoor music.
So you're speaking to community standards, basically. But if we do grant a nightclub license, and then you can play loud music whatever time you want, so how is that a solution?
I'm not saying you should do that.
Yeah, no, I don't think that's a solution at all. I agree. Yeah.
Who indicated that Mr. Bernstein has a nightclub?
The definition may...
How definition? It's the definition.
The definition may...
More than one singer, more than one instrumentalist, or a place to dance, you're a nightclub in Shandaken.
Yeah.
So in your backyard, you can't play music in your own backyard up until 7 o'clock?
You can't mow your lawn, you can't run an air conditioner, you can't run...
That's after 7, but until 7 is...
Well, even then, if your lawnmower is under 57 dBA, you can use it. I have an electric one, I'm in compliance.
Well, I should say after that, if your lawn gets to be over 10 inches, you're breaking
also
the
in
law.
violation,
An electric? Any lawnmower?
Yeah,
If your lawn's over 10 inches high.
You're actually in violation.
Well, I don't know if this is helping or hurting Jeremy. I don't see where you've broken any of the town laws, me personally.
Well, I appreciate, that's why I came here tonight, was to understand from the board what the interpretations of these laws are, and what I'm doing, what I've been doing, what I'm insured to do, what my liquor license says I can do, what I have been doing for over a year now, last summer with the pandemic, and hear from you guys whether or not Howie told me I needed to get a variance. I wanted to find out from you guys. It doesn't sound like I need a variance.
How do you guys feel? Does anyone in this board want to see Mr. Bernstein apply for a variance for a nightclub in our R15 district? Anybody
I think
recommend
if
that?
he opened up a new business that, or he just started the business, that would be one issue, but that business is in existence for God knows
Yeah, I
how
don't
many
think
years.
he needs anything.
I don't think so.
I think he's conforming as it is. I don't see what it's a problem.
How do we address the noise complaints from the neighbors?
Well, then
Michael
it's,
is the-
yeah, well, then it's as a not as the ZBA, just I would advise the neighbors who have spoken to Jeremy about it, continue to do so when there is a problem. The neighbors that haven't, when they have a problem, let Jeremy know. I quickly skimmed these letters. They say he has responded to their concerns. And if that fails, then, sorry, Jeremy, then they call the police if there is a valid complaint. I mean, that's the way it works. If you have a complaint about a noise, that is handled by the Town of Shandaken Police Department.
Right now, he's in violation of the zoning officer in the town of Shandaken.
That's a separate issue, yeah.
He's got a current open
Rob?
violation that he's got litigated.
Just to simplify it, the noise ordinance, we can change dBAs, decibels, whatever. We're not gonna get a decimeter certified by the state and a guy certified by the, it's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
It's a mood issue.
Why do we ask people to call the police? Because the police don't necessarily write down a formal thing, they don't make a big deal. 99% of the time, and I'll tell you one of them is campgrounds, I'm not gonna say which one specifically, but one routinely has people, guests that come in and they start playing music loud at night.
Yeah.
And the police are called, sometimes by other campers, and they show up, and the common comment is general noise complaint, went to address, respondents responded immediately, no further action required. And that's what happens. They go to the people and say, could you please turn it down? They see an officer, they go, oh, yes, sir.
Yeah.
And they turn it down, and they comply. Whatever they say, the lower the level is great.
Yeah.
Whatever they say.
And then we keep her, and
And that at
remember,
least puts them on notice too. Hey, the cops did it once already, I probably should have paid attention to this noise level in the future.
and recall this is an issue that we vetted in the short-term rental
But
committee.
it's a very common thing that we get, especially during the summertime now.
It's a tourist town.
And like I said, so if you're gonna change all of a sudden that he's gotta be a nightclub, well, then I think almost every restaurant in town's gotta apply for that because they started putting, music outside.
That's why I'm suggesting a special permit unique to this situation may be the solution, which may be conditional in terms of time.
I
Do you disagree with
I
that?
think the simple inclusion saying that as long as it's not integral, you're not allowed to. And once it becomes integral, it automatically exempts it. That's it. So there's nothing to be done. I think that's what Warren was getting at originally when they issued the continuation of the existing.
That's the way I see it.
So it sounds to me like you just said that you agree that a special use variance is not the appropriate solution.
I'm trying to figure out why he's applying for it.
He's
I'm
not.
not applying for
No,
it.
that's why he came here. He wanted clarification from the guy.
And
We're giving clarification, we're just confused.
No, I actually feel very clear now, and I also to clarify, I've gotten a certified violation email, letter, but then Howie emailed me and assured me that there has been no violation issued. So this is also very confusing. I have the emails. You don't have to appear, you haven't been under violation, we just sent you a certified violation email. To scare me? To threaten me with imprisonment, fines? I don't know.
So
But it
he's
doesn't
not
feel
in
good.
violation?
What's that?
He is not, I shouldn't say.
Well, the
Mr.
violation,
Bernstein is not in violation of anything right now?
the violation letter that we have is threatening, but it's threatening in a way that it encourages people to respond to complaints.
There will be
But-
consequences. if
Yeah,
you
I mean,
respond.
I wasn't gonna send him to court, I wasn't gonna send him to jail, I just wanted to say, he volunteered not to have the music until this issue was settled, which was great. And,
Thank you.
and so I just sent him that letter because I just wanted him to realize I wasn't going to fine him $250 a day.
This is a form letter.
Is there a violation or not?
So he can play music this weekend?
I had 30 days to comply to my actual letter that I wasn't actually really being given a violation. I was being scared. And so in being scared, I tried to comply. It came right away. Came to talk, I called Sarah on the phone, and then I came to Howie in person. Howie in person sent me downstairs to talk to Joyce with a variance application, which is when I then was sent into Rob's office, to where I had a conversation with Rob, where the logic came out of like, what I'm doing is fine. Yet I still complied and wanted to make sure that what I'm doing is right.
What's the means of compliance to the complaint? Not playing music, correct? That's the means of compliance.
Well, in respect to Jeremy, he was going through the process. So, I mean, I get complaints from people, and as long as they're going through the process, when they have an appearance ticket, they show up at court. I say, they're going through the process, they need more time, let's give them another month, let's give them another 2 months, okay? But I just want to say, for years and years, for many years, for over 20 years, I've had bands play at my house.
Yeah?
And even in the summertime, with the windows open, the screens, I never got a complaint, except one year I decided to do it outside. And that year, the cops came to my house. And the complaints were over 2,000 feet away.
Yeah, well, you're high on the mountain. So
Yeah.
Your elevation
So,
was pretty high.
and, you know, like I said, the cop said, turn it down for 20 minutes, Howie, and then let me get out of town.
So did the cops go to the fines?
Never once.
No, they
So are you a
didn't.
cop?
I'm
I don't
not.
understand what we're doing.
Yeah, it seems
Am I a
like,
cop?
is this?
Yeah, I don't.
I'm a code enforcement
I issued a
officer.
violation letter without any formal
We
complaint.
need
Okay.
closure.
Yes.
No, that's.
So, but that leaves the question that you asked still on the table.
Complaint is a verbal complaint. It's just as good.
So is there an open violation with the building?
I talked to the town attorney, I told him exactly what I did, and he said, Howie, you did everything the way you're supposed to.
I would like to talk to him again.
Ben Gailey, give him a call.
I will.
So, but the question remains. Okay, we know he's not going to go to jail. We know he's not going to be fined $250 a day. Can he just go home right now, and it's all done, and this issue is over? Or is there actually an open violation that he needs to address and deal with, and if so, what is it and how? Because we're all confused. We don't understand if he has a violation, or what it is, or what he's supposed to do now. If all he was supposed to do is talk to you, well, then he did that.
A month ago.
Are we? I don't think Jeremy knows what to do next, and I know
He's supposed to
we
talk-
don't know what he's supposed to do
Talking about a
next.
solution. We need a solution, and part of that solution is to address the complaints. The
Well, he said,
convenience of the
there
complaints.
is either a violation or there isn't a violation. And I'm confused about
I have not
whether
been
there is or
issued,
there isn't.
I've been issued this letter, but then Howie wrote me an email saying that there has no real violation has not been issued. You don't have to go to court. You're not getting fined, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
What exactly does that mean?
It was very confusing to me, which is why I'm sitting here.
But there is a violation of the decibel thing, which we all
It's not
agree is
good.
okay and not able to address, so that's off the table.
Yeah.
So, all right, so what do you think?
Look at me.
No, we're looking at you.
I have no idea what to think. I mean, what are we doing? Are we ruling on something? Are we?
No, we're trying to give Mr. Bernstein guidance as to what his next step is.
Well, it doesn't sound like there's any
Then
step to
that's
take.
He already read, he said he's going only.
He doesn't have a
until
violation.
7 o'clock.
Right, he doesn't have a violation.
He's already adjusted. I mean, he was playing for ladies. He moved it back to 7. And that conforms with the code, right? 7 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
Well, then I guess even after 7 PM to 7 AM, it's just 3 decibels smaller.
No, it's still louder than what the code says, but we all agree that's the material and outdated. So, Okay, my opinion is you should apply for a special permit to be able to exceed the noise regulation, and that permit could be what we call a conditional permit, so you can only do music, say from 5 to 7 or something like that, so that you will be in compliance with exceeding the noise limit of the zoning
If he's
regulations.
issued a violation.
But-
If he is issued a violation.
Yeah, so I haven't been issued a violation, and not only that, I don't want to upset my neighbors. So I will work on keeping it low. I will work on keeping it within the decibel range that is acceptable for anyone.
There's a real easy solution. Jeremy, excuse me, Jeremy, can you agree maybe 7 o'clock is your cutoff? At least maybe you consider 7 o'clock. Number 2, I'm sorry, no, you already answered.
Kathy,
If you could just meet with her, talk to her about it, and maybe go over and see what she's saying.
and
Yeah, I'd be happy to. We have spoke before, and
not in a while, but yes.
not in a while, but
Be happy to.
we did speak.
Yes, we did.
And we were in understanding, and we worked on parking together, and we did these things.
We
And
did
then
something. That's
I
good.
have, we can talk about the letter of
We can
complaint on
I'm
our own
perfectly-
properties.
And that's all I'm saying, that if we can solve it simply without having to interfere with any kind of action, let it be a community thing that he handles, and if he doesn't handle it, then of course, he can pursue further, and then I don't know where that could go,
Totally.
whatever.
I totally agree, and the temperature in the room seems to be that you do have amenable neighbors. We have an amenable owner, operator, who can have a dialogue. That would be the simplest solution, if you just reached an agreement with your neighbors.
I'm super happy to reach a decibel agreement with my neighbors, and I also, I believe, tell me if I'm wrong, from what we just all went through and discussed, it is an integral part to my business, and I'm allowed to do music there. I have, it's on my liquor
It's a
license.
logic, yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah, basically.
Agreed?
I'm insured for that, it's on my liquor license, we've been doing it for 4 years. I'm here for that, mostly, and then, yes, I would love to continue to be able to have these Saturday, late afternoon, some music while we serve dinner.
This board agrees you are legally allowed to have musical performances.
Okay?
Impugning on your neighbors vis-a-vis excessive sound, if you could work that out with your neighbors. I guess that's our best suggestion at this point.
Sounds great. I thought I had, and I will work with Catherine on this. I have, as you know, Joe Tiso brings a lawn chair on his lawn and drinks a beer, watches the show.
Yeah.
You know, but yes, I will continue to work with them on this.
I've said in this position many times, we're not marriage counselors, we're not life counselors, but the ultimate solution, this is a small community. People are often chock-a-block next to each other. We share each other's issues. We share each other's safety issues. We share each other's community value issues. And the best solution to any of these things that come before us is working out within the community and within neighbors. So if that can be done,
Totally agree.
I would encourage you to do that.
He does have neighbors on Miller Road.
They should come talk to me then. They've never come to talk to me. They
You said to
eat
me
in my
that you
restaurant.
spoke to all your neighbors, but you never spoke to anybody.
I spoke to my contiguous abutting neighbors, Howie, who are the ones that matter the most, and they're right there.
Well, I'm not gonna get into this, man, about that. I mean,
How
you said you
I
spoke.
I can't know that the people on Miller Road are unhappy. They can come to me and come say, hey, we eat at your restaurant, the music's too loud. They haven't done that. And they didn't make a formal complaint until you emailed them, which I have your email.
That's not true.
I have,
That's not so.
I have the
That's
email.
not so. He did not email. I gave a vocal complaint and then I wrote one. When I realized that this was going to come to the zoning board.
Okay, well, I have his email above the formal complaints, asking for complaints. So,
But it never came to me.
I didn't say you exactly.
Well, it never came to other people on my road. There was no email sent to people on my road about, please make your complaint, nothing like that. What I was told was, this is a vocal complaint, you have to send in a written, and why should I send it in unless this is going to continue? So then the ways in which you were attacking people who were, the way your supporters were attacking people who were complaining.
But that's not me.
I
And all I
understand,
said was,
but what you were saying was that this is,
excuse me.
Okay, this is why this is not a public hearing. We are not adjudicating
I
neighbors.
understand. I was trying to
So-
be quiet about it, but I'm just saying, I never got anything from Howie. I made a vocal complaint, and then I made a written complaint.
Okay, as you should have. Thank you. Well, Howie, are you in a position to notify anybody who made a complaint on Miller Road to contact Mr. Bernstein and work this out themselves? Can you be an interlocutor?
I mean, an interloper.
You're getting complaints from people on Miller Road, correct?
Well, I'm sure the people from Miller Road will now complain.
Did you get complaints from people on Miller Road?
Did I get complaints?
Your office, yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And those are people who did not personally reach out to
Yes,
Mr. Bernstein?
nobody personally reached out from Miller Road.
And
Is there some way to get those people with Mr. Bernstein so they could reach an amenable agreement? That's the definition of interlocutor.
well,
I mean, that would be on their volition, we can't, you know.
I mean, I'm not supposed to divulge the names or addresses or emails of anybody who makes a complaint.
No, I'm saying you're to get in touch with people and suggest that
Well-
a solution with Mr. Bernstein may be a solution. A conversation with Mr. Bernstein may be a solution.
Yeah,
Is it?
well, they've already said that they would be okay with acoustic music, and they would be okay with music inside,
Okay.
with loud music outside, so he knows what their complaints are. Nobody's trying to run them out of town or...
It seems like it really is. You know, they say, well, it's okay if he plays music inside, but his license says that he can play music, so what is
I
music?
don't think his license says he can play music.
It says live music. My liquor license says it,
Yeah,
as
liquor
well
license has
as well
nothing-
as my insurance.
Liquor
is.
license and the insurance have nothing to do with it.
And the zoning code says that it's integral to my business.
This is an agency having jurisdiction situation, and in this town, I'm the code enforcement officer, and I'm the agency having authority. So
But I
it
was
doesn't
already-
matter what the liquor license
I was
says.
already given this authority by your predecessor. Okay? When I bought my business, when I opened my business, this was a done
He said you
deal.
could play live music outside?
We weren't talking about outside.
Well,
And
that's
I just,
not-
what I said, Howie, is I'm coming today to understand the code of what I'm allowed to do in my restaurant.
Mhm.
I'm happy to work with neighbors on a volume for my 1 day a week outside. I would rather be doing it inside. We're in a global pandemic. And what we've had to do to keep our businesses running as restaurants is a lot. I don't
I
take anything.
understand. I think that all of your neighbors were aware of that. They weren't going to come after you because of the COVID.
But they didn't come talk to me either. They didn't come say, hey, the music's loud. I would have said, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I will work on turning it down. Nobody did that.
Okay, so now you will do
The
that.
people that did that wrote letters and I worked with them.
Also, I would say to the neighbors, this is a COVID period. We are in an unprecedented situation here that we all have to work together with, and we're all threatened by. We're all trying to supersede and overcome, and we all have to work together. It's a small community.
And you'll see it in that letter. In the
Okay.
letter I wrote, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
You are Miss who?
Huh?
What's your name, please?
Marnie Andrews.
Okay.
I don't think we have those letters.
We don't have a letter.
I have them if you want them.
The letters that you gave us.
No, I have the complaints from when I did the FOIA act.
Yeah.
But again, we're circling
I
back
think we're going
to,
back into some.
this is the whole, the code says he's allowed to have music. It doesn't say it has to be inside. There's no mention of indoor versus outdoor. It merely defines him as a nightclub based on the number of musicians. We all agreed he is a nightclub according to our code, and we all agreed our code says that he is allowed to operate a nightclub where he's doing it. Which brings it back to it, there may or may not be future noise violations, which we also agreed the Zoning Board of Appeals doesn't enforce noise complaints. I totally agree with your advice. which Jeremy has been amenable to, and the neighbors are as well, that they are going to work together to make sure they aren't annoying each other anymore, I think we should move on.
I think it's a very succinct summary.
Yep. I agree.
So the zoning department or the zoning officer.
Howie, the building department, code
Yeah,
enforcement,
building
yeah.
department, the CEO, the code enforcement officer, hasn't issued a complaint to him.
That is my understanding.
That's what I get at, and I just want to be.
Yeah, no,
clear.
that's my understanding as well, that there is currently
No complaint.
no
Official.
violation, no one's about to storm the doors of the Pines with the SWAT
There's no
team.
appearance ticket.
Okay, so
What did you actually, didn't you get a cease and desist order? What
I
did you
got,
actually
I
get?
got a violation letter.
So it's everyone.
All right.
Everyone, it's a violation.
This is a violation letter I received.
I sent one today.
it's more of a notice of complaints, I think, is how we should interpret that letter.
At the time of this letter, I will repeat that I have never had one complaint about that to the police. And I had previously worked with the other neighbors in which I said I spoke with. And then the other neighbors that did complain after I did the FOIA act, those are the neighbors that hadn't come and spoken to me, and if they did, I would have worked with them.
Okay. Well, it only says imprisonment not exceeding a year. Maybe you could use a year off.
I could, actually.
Jeremy, is Howie's email to you explaining that should not be viewed as a threat? Is that adequate to you? Do we need a further formal document? I would assume an email from the Office of Code Enforcement would be adequate to allay your fears that you're not going to jail nor going to be fined $250.
I've already done that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But it said in the email as well that, I couldn't do outdoor music. If I did, I'd be in violation, which I'm finding out I'm not.
Until
I believe you're not.
So, thank you very much.
So we're back to where we were, again, when I was wondering, is there a next step for us on this subject, or have we closed the circle?
Close the circle.
I think it's up to you and your neighbors to close the circle.
Well, I'm happy to talk to them about the outdoor music and close that circle. I just want to make sure the circle, the bigger circle that we're talking about, which you've already stated to me, yes, we are able to do the music there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so that's fine, and yes, I will work on outdoor sound level with my neighbors.
Okay, if there's any future action to be taken on the neighbors, that's between them and you.
Yes.
Yep.
Are we
Yep.
all in agreement here?
I think as Elizabeth said, that they closed the circle twice.
So this is not,
Figure eight
this
now.
is not a ruling on a variance or anything like that. This is just us giving you advice. You understand?
There's no need for a variance,
Right.
is the
Yeah.
advice. So I will not apply for a variance, I don't need one.
That's my determination.
Just
That's
continue to
just
try
all-
to keep your neighbors happy.
Okay. Do you have anything else to say?
Nope.
Okay. Rob, you have anything else to say?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for your participation, folks. Any other business in front of us? Okay, thank you for thrashing that out. Again, please understand, as you pointed out, these codes were written in 1974. Our socioeconomic situation is far superseded what's in this code. This is just one of many holes in the code in terms of how we interpret our life going forward. The short-term rental committee whole issue is one of those examples.
I
So-
totally understand.
Okay, thank you.
And just on that note, about changing the code, I had discussions with other board members about considering, again, this is before I leave in December, that we would convene what's called a zoning revision committee, which entails members of the planning board, members of the ZBA, members of the town board, and community members, in order to review specific sections of the code that we feel, because there's stuff the planning board deals with and how we deal with, that again, are very antiquated.
Yes.
They don't fit any box anymore, and we have other boxes that have popped up in the meantime that we can't check off because there ain't no box.
Right.
So it makes it difficult, and technically in the code, if it's not, it's not there, then it's illegal or something, but
Right.
there's all these different things, and we gotta clarify that. Even the fact to rectify, we had a debate many years ago with one of the members of the planning board, somebody had a violation, and in order to resolve the violation, it required them to apply for a permit. there's some kind of clause in there that says you're not allowed to apply for a permit while you currently have a violation. But the application was to resolve the violation. So it basically stalled for like a month or two, and then they just said, we'll listen to it, and moved on. So, okay, finally got it resolved, and everybody was happy. So, we are going to convene a zoning revision committee over the next few months. We're going to ask them that. So that's coming up.
Okay, great, yeah, bring it on.
Put this on your list, I'm saying. Now, if you know your spots, ask to have that looked at already.
But we got some spots.
No, he's saying if we can help them identify the anomalies in the code, they can address it. Yeah, well, December's right around the corner, I hope you guys hurry up on that, that's gonna be a big job.
Like 4 months. That's-
Yeah, only
that's
4 months.
Government.
Oh, well.
Just remember, you can't make everybody happy. It's an impossibility. You can only do the best you can, keep the majority happy.
And we have to look at, as I say, community, character, economic viability, and safety issues.
And every time you make a decision, you make one person happy and one person unhappy.
I told these guys that joined, like probably half the decisions we make, half the people in town are going to hate us, and half the people in town are going to love us. So hopefully this isn't one of those situations.
We didn't make a decision.
We didn't
No.
make a
We
decision.
didn't make a decision.
Alan's right.
Any further business from anybody? May I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Second.
First?
Motion?
Motion to close.
Motion to close. Second from Gary. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting so closed. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very
Mark,
much.
are you around tomorrow to sign the county report, the referral,
Yeah, I can.
or this week?
Yeah, I can do
Or
it.
Friday? Okay,
One of my few days off.
thank you.
Elizabeth, how are you?
I'm good. I'm okay.
Papers in there?
I'm
Liz, did you want your papers in there? I don't know.
Good night.
Yeah, today was just a really long day.
All right.
I finally sat down, took a deep breath, and said, "Oh my God, it's 7 o'clock." How did the ground board issue go? You all good? I was gonna say.
Well, I was supposed to get his press, but the lady, I think there was, the bars were all full. See, no appointments, and I told 2 minutes. She was buzzing around the side, and then all of a sudden, it goes off. It's one of those things that come back.
I was at my house last weekend. Allison and Peter. I know Peter is working in the city. I just hope to be, he'll want to be a good neighbor. Yeah, but he has to figure out tomorrow. After all his violations, after all his violations, Pretty good. I mean, it's I was gonna, that's what. They sent me a letter afterwards, so that night, account was at 25.
Yes.
Sent me a letter saying you better get 21. What year was that? About it.
It's not a waste of time, it's just, it's just.
You too. Good luck tomorrow. We know how it turns out.
I know, it took a long time to get there, but. Why?